And something you probably heard from coaches or other educational content out there is that as a jungler, you should never gank a losing lane. This advice is actually one of the biggest lies holding junglers like you back from climbing, as truthfully, in most cases, you should do the complete opposite. Now, in theory, this rule all makes a lot of sense here, and we see it happen in pro play all the time, with some games even having the entire map split in half, also the jungler can just focus around playing and supporting the winning lane or strong side of the map. And why playing around winning lanes is so effective in higher elo to begin with is all because laners have a much better understanding of how to leverage that lead. They know when they can play aggressive. They understand when to play safe to avoid ganks. They know when they should be pushing for priority. And most importantly, out of all of that, they know how to leverage that lead to work together with you to impact the map together. But in reality, how it actually goes for you at your elo is that you're going to camp bot lane, get them super far ahead, and still somehow they're always the last to move to Drake. Or you're going to get your top laners super far ahead, only to have them just throw it all away, split pushing and dying over and over and over again to the most obvious collapses, which is why putting all your eggs in one singular basket, let alone allowing that basket to be held by your solo queue teammate, is undoubtedly some of the worst advice you could ever hear from climbing on jungle. Now, on the flip side, think of what happens to your losing lanes. Well, for starters, they're obviously more than likely going to be getting pushed in, typically resulting in your opponent often being further up in the lane and in that danger zone, giving you a higher chance of that gank succeeding. Second, their lane opponent knows they're stronger. And what's the one way most players think you extend that lead? Spoiler, it's not using that priority to help the jungler. For the vast majority of laners, the only way they get to know how to push an advantage is by trying to get more kills. Like here in one of Zot's games, where his brand top is losing pretty badly to his Shen, and by the time Zot finishes his topside jungle, the wave is in the even zone and pushing away from Brand. But as this is a losing lane, Zot knows this Shen will be looking for any opportunity he can to fight Brand with his lead. So he pings the Brand walks up, Shen takes the bait, and Zot picks up a big shutdown. Now, while it's obviously good to play around winning lanes, in theory, your goal, again, should always be to try and get yourself as fed as possible. And if that means spam gank and losing lanes, so be it. It all goes back to that 80% rule that we covered a lot earlier in this lesson. And yes, hold on, before you go to the comments and type, "Thanks, SkillCapt, I just followed your terrible advice and got 1v2'd by a Darius and demoted to Iron." Of course, there's always the risk of getting 1v2'd, or even 2v2'd by the enemy jungler when you gank a losing lane. And sure, that's partly the reason you hear the rule in the first place. But once again, you're letting that risk turn into fear. And if you default into a scared mentality in League, always convincing yourself every gank on a losing lane is doomed before you even attempt it, and just focusing on the worst thing that could happen, you're going to miss out on so many free kills. It is this simple. If you don't believe you can 1v1 the enemy laner, or you know your teammate won't be able to contribute enough and you're worried, then fine, just don't risk it. And all this should go without saying here, you're never looking to take 2v2s with your losing lane, or to even play around them with the intent of getting them back in the game. Remember what we said earlier. You're just using them being behind to help yourself pick up free kills. So if you know the enemy jungler is around, again, just don't risk it.